Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. For those of you new just joining us, my name is Perry and I write and illustrate the Floof and Feathers webcomic series, which is a slice of life cartoon series I draw that is inspired mostly by real life, from our real life pets. Of course, some creative liberties are taken here and there, as you will see in this week's comics highlight video. The ones I drew this week were from our vacation that we just recently got back from. We did a 9-day tour through Italy. So if you are someone who reads the series, if you're familiar with my comics that I draw, you'll probably remember there was a little bit of a hiatus there in the middle of March. That's why we were away from home. We were traveling, sightseeing all the beautiful historic areas of Italy, going through Venice, Florence, and Rome. So, unfortunately, I didn't really have a whole lot of time to draw comics that week. Hope you'll forgive me for that. Trying to make up for it now, though. This week, I did a series of some comics, though, that were very much inspired by our trip to Italy. Of course, starring the Floof and Feathers cast, our two dogs and our parrots. They, as I mentioned in previous avenues in my comics and on social media, they actually did not come with us. They were, staying home and looking after things. But I thought it would be nice to draw some comics of what I imagine they would have gotten up to had they been there. So again, a few creative liberties taken, but all in all, it's definitely inspired by real life events. So the first one I posted this week, this was Gondolier. When we were in Venice, of course, we had to take a gondola boat ride around the city. It was just absolutely beautiful, unlike anything that we've ever experienced, just because we're so used to paved roads and sidewalks, and in Venice everything is the canals and waterways. So it's a very different kind of experience, but just beautiful scenery. The boat ride was a ton of fun. Great experience if you're ever there. Highly recommend it. So that's what I'm drawing here. I have a little gondola boat, Finn. He's wearing that'll be his striped sweater. You see, right now it just kind of looks like a striped prison shirt, but that'll be his little black and white sweater. He's got the hat, the pole. So just drawing him kind of paddling the boat there. I don't actually know what they would have thought of the boat ride. I think in real life, Finn probably would have been maybe a little anxious about that. I don't think he's ever actually been on a boat, and certainly not anything like that going through the canals of Venice. So I don't think Finn would actually get on that boat in real life, but that's kind of what makes it funny, the idea of him actually piloting one of those boats, because that's not something I could ever see him doing for real. And that's all kind of part of the punchline here. I'm working on the last panel now, just getting that ready, and you'll see this is actually all just taking place in Finnegan's imagination. He's thinking about what it would be like to steer one of those boats, when the reality is that he is at home. So he's in the living room here, just getting him set up, and instead of being in a boat, add those lines there, and you can see that the reality is that he's actually at home in the living room, and he's sitting in a cardboard box pretending that he's steering one of these boats. It's just something playing out in his imagination. And instead of the actual boat paddle, you'll see, let me bring him up a little bit. There we go. Get him in position there, and you'll see, we don't actually have boat paddles at home, so he wouldn't have those to play with. So instead, in this cartoon, he's using, instead, as a placeholder for a boat paddle, just giving him a broom to play with. So he's just kind of pushing himself on the floor, pretending he's steering one of the boats. Now, Olivia, she makes an appearance in there too. if it was warmer and she was in maybe her travel cage, she might enjoy a boat ride. I don't know. It would be, I feel like it'd be a toss up between her either really loving it or just being absolutely terrified. Anyone who's heard me talk about Olivia before knows that anything new or different is absolutely terrifying to her most of the time. So, not really sure what they would think. But you can see there is the finished gondolier comic from earlier this week. Now we're working, this is the second comic I drew, Pasta Pup, I called this one, starring our newest dog, our youngest one, Pippin. And this one probably not going to be any great surprise where I got this idea from. When you're visiting Italy, when you're on vacation in Italy, I feel like it pretty much goes without saying, you are going to eat a lot of pasta. And I mean a lot of pasta. One thing that we found there is that they usually serve, if you're getting like a bigger sit down dinner, you're gonna have about like two main courses usually. One of them is going to be an entire plate of pasta and then your actual dinner. So just be prepared for a lot of very, very delicious noodles when you go there. It's definitely worth it. And even then, it's kind of hard to narrow down even what my favorite meal was. We just ate so many great things. If I had to pick, I would say, and I think my fiance and I are both in agreement on this. Probably our favorite meal all week was the lunch that we had again in Venice. We had a couple days there, and we were in the middle of just kind of wandering, exploring the city, getting a little hungry, looking for some place to eat. So we just went down a couple of side streets that they have. Every other building is some kind of restaurant there. It's wonderful. So you have a lot of options. But we were just wandering down a couple of side streets looking for a place, and we found this little restaurant that looked inviting. The people out front were really friendly and helpful. So we decided, why not? We'll just stop in, get something to eat. We'll check it out. And that was honestly, I think, probably some of the best pasta, at least personally that I had all week. It was fantastic, and that's saying a lot because I didn't have a bad meal or a mediocre meal the entire time I was there. So it's saying a lot. But there was a lot of pasta over the week and change that we were there. So naturally the idea of doing a comic involving one of our animals slurping down a giant plate of pasta just seemed like a pretty natural source of inspiration. I don't know whether Pippin or Finn would be worse about it. The reason I went with Pippin for this one was because the previous comic this week was starring Finnegan piloting the gondola boat. I will say in terms of food, both of them are equally guilty of mooching when it comes to human food and our plates. Finn, I feel like, is a little bit better, but that's just because he's older, he's more mellowed out. He gets really excited more about his own food, like his kibble in his bowl. That's what he gets really excited and really energetic about. Pippin, he likes it too. He loves breakfast, he loves supper, he gets into it. But he's the one, whenever we sit down with a plate of human food, he's the one who really is like in your face. He will climb on top of your lap and like get right in the middle of your business and then try to steal stuff right off of your plate. So I feel like in terms of human plates, he's a little bit worse for that. So that's why I gave him the starring role in this comic, because I could absolutely see him if he was there with us, just going wild on a big plate of spaghetti carbonara. And then finally, the last comic this week, wanted to give Livy her spot in her place in the spotlight as well for a comic. So getting the basic shape here set up. Our last couple of days in Italy, we were in Rome, and on one of our free exploration days, we did a walking sightseeing tour of a lot of historic monuments around the city center. Ton of fun, great time. And so, of course, one of the places where we had to stop was the Trevi Fountain. If you've looked up anything about Rome, you've probably heard of the Trevi Fountain. One of the reasons why we also wanted to stop, my fiance, she knows it from probably gonna get it wrong, the Hannah Montana movie. That's a big part of it, and that was a big part of her childhood as well. Oh, sorry, she just correct. Lizzie McGuire. Sorry, I'm not as familiar. The Lizzie McGuire movie, but they stopped at the Trevi Fountain. But I will say, it's definitely worth stopping and seeing. It's even more impressive in real life than any picture or any scene in a movie. It's unbelievable. It is gigantic. It is gorgeous. It is definitely a sight worth seeing if you're ever in Rome. If you see nothing else while you're there, go to the Trevi Fountain early in the morning on a weekday. Trust me on that. You're going to have the best chance of getting the best view and the best pictures. That was definitely worth seeing. And when you're there, make sure you throw your 3 coins in the fountain and make your wishes. And that is the main inspiration for this one. Here you can see someone was throwing in their coin, making their wish. And Olivia's there with her swimming goggles, diving into the water and stealing people's money after they've thrown it in. Which actually, at that point, I don't think it counts as stealing because you technically gave the money away. So I think she would probably call it a salvage operation. Well, that's probably the terminology she would want to go with. So people are there throwing their coins in the fountain, making their wishes, and Olivia is salvaging their money, taking it for herself, and just claiming that, oh, yeah, no, it's great. There's tons of money in here. People are literally just throwing it away. So for her, that especially would be a dream come true. If you know anything about birds, they love things that are shiny, especially coins. Olivia, no exception to that. She loves shiny stuff. So I think probably, not stealing, reclaiming coins from the Trevi Fountain is something she would definitely enjoy doing. So that's my comic wrap-up for this week. If you enjoyed this video and would like to see more of what I do, then be sure to leave me a like and subscribe to my channel. And of course, leave me a comment below letting me know what else you might like to see in the future in terms of projects and content. If you want to visit my home website where I host all of my comics, check out my merch store or visit my Patreon page. I have a link to everything in the description below. So with that being said, thank you again for stopping by this week, and I look forward to seeing everyone next time.